Hey, hi, hello, welcome back. Third video of the day. I know, right? You're getting sick of me. I'm getting sick of me. We're getting sick of me. 1840s events. Now, before I get into these, there's quite a few things that hit the chopping block. As I've gone further and further and further, I've been more determined to not have an event every year. Try to keep it to like 5 per decade. Maybe A, so I can get through the decades less painfully, B, so it's a little less spammy, C, so events feel more impactful, and yeah, I don't know. I'm still hemming and hawing over it. If, there's a decade where there's an event that you're aware of, or a historical thing that happened, that you feel is worthy of inclusion, that you've seen that I haven't included, definitely let me know. Definitely let me know. Make an argument. Naturally I'm infallible and incapable of mistakes. Ignore the Twitch VOD where I just corrected the typo 3 times in a row and did it wrong 2 of the times. I'm infallible. Don't make mistakes, but hey, let me know. Anywho, let's look at what I've added for the 1840s. Starting with this one? Yes, that one, Alex. The Great Natchez Tornado in 1841. Happens right here along the Mississippi. Great Natchez Tornado reports have come in from plantations 20 miles distant, Louisiana. The rage of the tempest was terrible. Hundreds of slaves killed, dwellings swept like chaff from their foundations, the forests uprooted, and the crops beaten down and destroyed. Never, never, never was there so much desolation and ruin. The Free Trader newspaper. Now, I imagine, this is a direct quote, I imagine the reason that slaves is in parentheses is they may have used a different word there. And kudos to whoever edited this and putting in slaves, because I'm not going to include certain words and kinds of language in my mods. So this is going to give the disaster devastation modifier. This is a modified version of the Great Fire, or the fucking penalty that San Francisco gets. I've reworked it so I can just throw this modifier in every time there's a disaster. So factory output and input are wrecked, RGO output gets wrecked, artisan input and output gets wrecked, life rating gets wrecked, so people won't want to live there, and if they're living there, they're going to be less happy about it. Yeah, but it doesn't kill people. It doesn't destroy anything, it just makes it suck for a year. And there you go. Natchez tornado was the second deadliest tornado in American history, and probably deadlier than we think because of the underreporting of slave fatalities. Moving on to the Second Bank of the United States, a bill has passed both houses of Congress, which calls for the reestablishment of the Second Bank of the United States. The privatization of the Second Bank of the United States under the Jackson administration in 1836 led to a shortage of bullion. I think it's bouillon. I think it's French. I don't know. And the subsequent Panic of 1837, which of course we're familiar with because I went over that already. Right? Yes? Oh god, I don't remember. Yes. I've done too much today. I'm assuming I went over it. Yeah. The vetoing of this bill by John Tyler, who was the president historically at this time, would result in Whig Party members drunkenly rioting outside the White House. Why does it cut off after White House? God damn it. No. See, remember when I said I was infallible? I was right, and this is totally on purpose, just to demonstrate.
The person you're trying to reach.
God damn it. Second Bank. What happened here? Right. I tried to use a semicolon grammatically. You can't do that. You can't do that because it interprets a semicolon as the end of the English version of the localization. So okay, all right, my mistake. God, I look washed out. It's so fucking bright in here. I'm not readjusting the camera, though. Would result in Whig Party members drunkenly rioting outside the White House and hanging an effigy of the president while firing guns into the air. This would be remembered as the most violent demonstration on White House grounds in United States history. What's funny is I fired off all these events to make sure that they looked right before recording, and I just, didn't actually parse this at all. Two choices here, either saying Jackson was wrong, pass the bill, in which case all pops in the United States become more in favor of interventionism, I should say, or Jackson was right, veto the bill, in which case laissez-faire becomes a bit more popular. Next up is Commonwealth v. Hunt. Commonwealth versus Hunt was a case in the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court on the subject of the legality of labor unions. Prior to the case, no clear legal precedent had been set in American law with respect to the legality of labor combinations. Chief Justice Lemuel Shaw, didn't look up how to pronounce his name, ruled that labor combinations were legal, provided that they were organized for a legal purpose and use legal means to achieve their goals, which is like the most wishy-washy bullshit lib, I guess labor unions are okay, so long as they're legal unions. That left a wide door open later in American history for saying, oh no socialist labor unions. Being a socialist is illegal, therefore socialist labor unions, illegal. Communist labor unions, no, sorry, it's illegal to be a communist. Get the fuck out of here, essentially, is the way this went. So, as, a decent start. All this does is turn political reform all allowed on. Now, you start with this, is the United States. But this just reaffirms it. I'm not going to have the U.S. start with the policy trade unions illegal or state-controlled or non-socialist allowed, because this set the precedent. Prior to this, it was sort of legal. It wasn't illegal. There was no precedent. And this set the precedent that it's actually legal. So the event effectively does nothing, but you learn something. Congratulations, it's nothing. Next up are the Lombard Street riots. Lombard Street? Yeah, it's Lombard Street, not Lombard. On August 1st, 1842, over 1,000 black members of the Abolitionist Young Men's Vigilant Association held a parade celebrating the 8th anniversary of the end of slavery in the British West Indies. The parade was attacked by an Irish Catholic mob. Rioting whites moved westward, setting fires and attacking firefighters and police as they went, targeting homes and businesses of the city's black residents. The rioting would last 3 days before a local militia was brought in to restore order. The mayor, John Moore Scott, refused to arrest or charge the vast majority of the rioters. I think 2 or 3 or 4 were actually held accountable on really light charges. So at least no lives were lost. This is not a very prestigious event. And the damages are negligible, so having a monetary cost is kind of out of not out of the question, but it'd be sort of negligible. So instead, we're going to say at least no lives were lost. Next up is 69-478, the Peacemaker accident. This is fucking hilarious. President Tyler, attempting to promote the virtues of his administration's campaign for naval expansion, hosted a reception for Congress aboard the USS Princeton on the 27th of February, 1844. As part of this reception, by the order of the ship's captain Robert Stockton, the ship's largest gun, Peacemaker, was to be fired in order to impress the assembled guests. After 3 successful firings, the long gun was readied for a final firing to salute George Washington as the ship passed. I typed the word wrong. Past Mount Vernon. As the ship passed Mount Vernon. Good job, Alex. Good job. You don't pump out a dozen events without making a couple of typos. As the ship passed Mount Vernon, the final firing resulted in the gun's left side bursting, spraying the assembled crowd with hot metal shrapnel. 5 were instantly killed, including Secretary of State Upshur, and an additional 20 were injured. Interestingly enough, Secretary of State Upshur was in the midst of putting through legislation that would have annexed Mexico to the United States, and his death pushed back the annexation until the next administration. Pretty interesting. Fortunately, President Tyler was below deck at the time. There's a great alt history branch off point there. What if he were above deck? What if Tyler got what was coming to him? Great Fire of Pittsburgh. It's impossible. This is a quote from a newspaper at the time. It's impossible. The name of the newspaper wasn't credited. A book that the quote was located in was credited, but not the original newspaper, which is just like really, really bad academia. Damn it. It's bad citing. It's bad academia. It's bad academic practice. None of these are the right way to phrase this. You cite the primary source. If you find it through a secondary source, you can cite that too, and generally you should, but the primary source is more important for people actually going back and citing the thing. And at least put the fucking name of the newspaper in instead of just saying, a newspaper. Anyway, it's impossible for anyone, although a spectator of the dreaded scene of destruction which presented to the eyes of our citizens on the memorable 10th of April, to give more than a faint idea of the terrible, overwhelming calamity which then befell our city, destroying in a few hours the labor of many years and blasting suddenly the cherished hopes of hundreds, we may say thousands, of our citizens who, but that morning, were contented in the possession of comfortable homes and busy workshops. The blow was so sudden and unexpected as to unnerve the most self-possessed. Pittsburgh newspaper. A lot of these fires, and this is really interesting, are great opportunities for rebuilding, and a lot of the modern infrastructure and architecture and logistical networks employed in a lot of these major cities owe the successes of those improvements to these fires, which just cleared out the space and opportunity for them. They're really a double-edged sword. And finally, the Great New York City Fire of 1845. On the 19th of July, 1845, New York City suffered the latest of three devastating fires. The first two occurred in 1776 and 1835. While destructive, the 1845 fire proved the efficacy of building codes put into place following the fire a decade prior. Despite the improvements, the 1845 fire resulted in yet more public calls for proactive fire prevention and firefighting. In response, the city would establish a firefighter reserve unit called the Exempt Firemen's Company. And that's it. That's it for the 1840 events. There's a lot of stuff that hit the chopping block, like 1840. Let's see. The Wilmington and Raleigh Railroad in North Carolina becoming the longest railroad in the world at the time. I mean, it's cool, but whatever. Or Charles Wilkes circumnavigating Antarctica. He claimed what would later be known as Wilkes Land for the United States there, but Charles Wilkes wasn't even the first one to go to Antarctica. His mission wasn't even to go to Antarctica, it was to map the Pacific, which he sorta did, but just like killed a lot of indigenous people along the way, so like, fuck that guy. He wasn't even the first guy to do it, so not worth an event, right? 1841, the first use of the filibuster, not the threatened use of a filibuster like in 1837, but the first prolonged use of a filibuster. If I didn't mention 1837, it's not worth mentioning now. Also, I don't even know what effect that event would have. Like, filibuster sucks and it should be fixed. We have Frederick Douglass speaking a couple of times, and like, great guy, but I don't know, maybe like for his most famous speech or something, we can have an event for him, but I can't be like, oh, fuck yeah. Frederick Douglass, let's just have an event anytime something happens. John Colt killing Sam Adams, I don't know, doesn't really seem worth it. Not impactful enough. The Dorr Rebellion is too small. We already have the Webster-Ashburton Treaty. Ivory Coast Expedition? I forget what that is. That escaped my view. So we'll look at the Dorr Rebellion. The Jimmy Dorr Rebellion was an attempt by middle-class residents to force broader democracy in the U.S. state of Rhode Island. It's fine. It required voters on land disqualification to vote, so instead of landed voting in Rhode Island, it switched to wealth voting, which Okay, good for you, Rhode Island. This isn't a national impact. Like, maybe we could have this, like, boost support for universal voting or universal suffrage, whatever the fuck it... You know what? I have the game open. I can just look at this. If it loads. There we go. Politics for universal. But the people already want universal all the time anyway, so it'd be really fucking minor. Still, maybe. I'll put a tilde next to it. So, like, if I feel the need for more events, and I definitely won't, I can come back and look at that. Then there was the Ivory Coast Expedition. The Ivory Coast Expedition, or Liberia Expedition, was a naval operation in 1842 launched by the United States against the West African Baribi people. It was a punitive expedition. American victory. It is, I mean, this is just, haha, asymmetric warfare is a bad time. Suppressing slave trade, piratical tribes. Maybe, I don't know, just leave their fucking land alone. So 420 new events are bust. We have not yet passed that, but oh god, we may pass that. So yeah, like a couple of things there. The Citadel, which is just a university, was founded, South Carolina. Meh. Honestly, 1843 doesn't have a lot going on. First Pacific Northwest major wagon train. Great. Some honkies moved into First Nations territory. That happened all along the frontier, all throughout this entire time. Later on, the United States would use that as reasoning for rejecting sharing the Oregon Territory with the United Kingdom and bringing into debate what would happen to Columbia/Oregon. But meh, I don't know. That doesn't really speak to me. 1844, the Dominican Republic becomes independent. There's the Great Flood of 1844, which was like a really devastatingly high flood along the Mississippi-Missouri River, I think. But it really didn't do much damage because no one had really settled there at the time yet. So it would have been a really big deal. But there really weren't that many people around, so it didn't do a lot of monetary damage. So, like, it's a geographically interesting event, but not politically, not materially. So it got cut. Vulcanization was patented in June 15th by they went on to become a fucking car tire company. Can't remember. We can't have every patent and every invention be an event. I mean, we could, but like, Christ, that'd be exhausting. Just like the really emblematic, symbolic ones, like Samuel Colt's revolver. Like, for the time period, the West eats up a lot of that. You can't imagine the genre that we're playing without the revolver, right? So that seemed fitting. I imagine the vast majority of people don't spend a lot of time thinking about hardening rubber, which is what vulcanization is, when they think about the time period. Unless, you've got some real niche interests. That's not really what you're getting hyped for. There was a treaty with Ming Dynasty, basically granting the United States the same extraterritoriality and trading rights that other major powers enjoyed at the time. There's no way to really represent that in game because Qing, not Ming, my bad. Because the Qing Dynasty ain't nobody's bitch. It will never go into anyone's sphere ever because it's just way too goddamn populous. So, I mean, adding influence would mean nothing, also would be broken, so there's no real way to portray that. Maybe just giving the US prestige, but they already have enough, so, I don't know. Oh yeah, the Second Coming didn't happen on the 22nd of October 1844, called the Great Disappointment at the time. Seriously, like about every 20, 30 years, the Second Coming doesn't happen, and people who are trying to predict it are like, oh, I got the date wrong, but now I know it for sure. This has been a thing for centuries. And people still fall for this shit. Like, they can't continue to be wrong forever. Well, they can. 1845, Andrew Jackson dies. Can I get a hell yeah for that? The Republic of Yucatan rebels, but it does that on its own. The Scientific American begins publication. I think the Associated Press was founded... No, it's next year in 1846, but I didn't include that either because fuck the Associated Press. That's right, you hear me. Particularly fuck them because it's a for-profit media venture. But more recently because they fired someone for being anti-Zionist. No, you go to hell. I have no sympathy for Zionists whatsoever. Free Palestine, by the way. You know, don't if you follow me on Twitter, this position is not surprising, but hey, some of you out there might have stumbled onto the channel through this video, which is how do you do? I mean, welcome, I guess, but how the fuck did you get to this part of this series without being just like drenched is actually the word I was going for, in my nonstop socialist tirades for the entirety of this series. If you're not here for it, I understand. Move along home. 1846, Mexican-American War begins, Liberty Bell cracks. I don't know, like, nothing super interesting. The Smithsonian is established, but that's already an event in game, so can't do that. Oh yeah, House of Representatives votes to stop sharing the Oregon Territory with the UK, but that really doesn't do anything mechanically in game. 1847, Colt finally sells his first revolver to the United States government. Yeah, I already mentioned that. A couple of treaties. Oh, the Taos Revolt happens, but we kind of have Taos being independent? Right, isn't Taos on this side of the border in, oh fuck, I don't remember where Taos is in New Mexico. If you're unfamiliar, Taos Revolt. No, not that one. Yes, this one. The Taos Revolt was a populist insurrection in 1847 by Mexican and Pueblo allies against the United States occupation of New Mexico. Kinda cool. Kinda cool. Taos also had a insurrection in 1680, which we might have seen there. Pretty cool shit. Yeah, where is Taos? I've been here. I don't remember what side of the line. Yeah, it's on that side of the line. That's why I didn't go for it. If you're here because you want more native tags of genocide, just follow the GitHub. You will not enjoy it. Anytime you do something genocidal, I'm like, bad. Bad. Minus prestige. Minus prestige. Imagine getting this mod because that's what you want. Get fucked, buddy. I don't think you're gonna get what you want out of this mod. The first U.S. postage stamps in 1847. I mean, maybe, like, these are really fluffy ass events, and we're already spamming. Keep in mind, there's already events for a lot of these years, which is why I'm like, well, there's already one for this year, and there's nothing exciting happening, so maybe not. Gold being found in California. Seneca Falls Convention, which was the first feminist convention, I think, held in the United States, which is, you know, noteworthy, but... Illinois and Michigan Canal. Boston Public Library being founded. Fat lot of good that day. Boston's a beautiful city full of passionate, beautiful, relatively intelligent people. I just love bashing on it because I did not like my time in Boston. And I've been there multiple times. It's too fucking cold. The roads suck. Like, the roads are awful in Boston. Everybody thinks it's the hottest shit. And it's not. Like, Salem? Fuck Salem. It's just some old bullshit town. Ooh, but it's haunted. It's not. Ooh, but witches. They wouldn't be here. Like, oh, it's spooky. It really isn't. Yeah. I'm just saying, outlaw Boston. Is that so hard? 1849, you had the U.S. Gold Coinage Act, but that doesn't do anything in game. Had some riots in Montreal. New Orleans has a flood. First woman doctor in the United States, Elizabeth Blackwell. And the first photo of a United States president, James Knox Polk. And the Department of the Interior is created. Maybe the Department of the Interior being created is worth mentioning, but like, nah. If I get 5 per decade, and we definitely got 5 per decade, I live in Mass and I agree, fuck Boston roads. Central Mass is a lot better. Yeah, Massachusetts, Boston just has the curse of it being built iteratively over the course of a long period of history. I mean, my god, just driving there sucks. And getting directions for anyone in Boston is just confusing as hell. They don't even know where they're going. Also, the liquor stores. And this is more of like a New England as a whole thing. And yes, I'm including New York, even though you don't think you're part of New England. Having dedicated liquor stores and not being able to get hard alcohol anywhere else, and in some states not even being able to get beer anywhere else, is a travesty. It's bullshit. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of space. It's so they can tax the alcohol more. Anyway, fuck New England. I've gone on long enough. I wasn't gonna turn this into a whole thing, but here I am at half a fucking hour. Classic. This is it for today if you're watching on YouTube. More will be up, God, probably tomorrow, now that I'm trying to commit to knocking out a decade of events every day. God help me, the burnout will set in sooner than later, but whatever, this mod's free. Go fuck yourself if it's not good enough. Or pay me $20 an hour, and I will do this even while I hate it. But you probably can't afford that, so I invite you to revisit. Go fuck yourself. Until tomorrow, I'm gonna say toodaloo, take care, see you then, bye-bye.